shall we begin?
Let the games begin.
All right.
A new age has begun. An age of freedom.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Get to the chopper!
This is going to be quite a ride.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian. Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast this week. This is, of course, the Movie Pit Podcast, like I just mentioned, where we talk about all of the big breaking movie news items of the week, as well as the trailers that came out this week. We have one very big trailer that came out this week, and, of course, the movies coming out in theaters and streaming for all your viewing pleasures. So we're just getting right into it because I don't know how long I'm gonna go on some particular movie news items, especially one. So we're just gonna get right into it. First, we're gonna start off with the podcast with a news item that came out after the podcast came out last week. We talked a little bit about this, or I talked a little bit about this on my Twitter page for the podcast, which is down below in the description/show notes area. If you want to go check that out, give us a follow over there. Black Canary movie is in the works over at HBO Max. And, of course, Warner Brothers. The news started out as a rumor, which is why we didn't talk about it at first. But it looks like the movie is, in fact, in early development. Janice Smollett will reprise her role as Diana Lance, a.k.a. Black Canary, which, of course, she played in Birds of Prey. The other plus in this news is that Misha Green is reportedly attached to write the movie. At the moment, she's only attached to write, not direct the movie. This will act as a reunion for Smollett and Green, as Smollett was in Lovecraft Country, which Green was one of the co-creators of, and also I believe wrote and maybe even directed an episode. I forgot to look that up. I know she was involved in it. The movie won't be happening anytime soon, as both of them are pretty busy at the moment. Smollett will be appearing in two Netflix movies. One of them is Lou, which will co-star Allison Janney, and produced by J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot production company, and Escape from Spiderhead, yes, that is the name of the movie, which will co-star Miles Teller and Chris Hemsworth. Green, on the other hand, is writing and producing the Jennifer Lopez action thriller The Mother, which I believe will also be on Netflix, and will direct the Tomb Raider sequel, which she joined earlier this year. Black Canary is now the third DC superhero movie that will debut on HBO Max. The other two are the already announced Blue Beetle and Batgirl. I'm kind of excited for this. I like this. I like the reunion between Smollett and Green. Obviously, there was a lot of love for Lovecraft Country. And yeah, I'm excited for that. I don't know kind of where they'll go with this. I think it will be interesting to see how they go with the movie, whether it will actually be a solo Black Canary movie, or will they bring in someone from the Birds of Prey movie. Like, I don't think they'll bring in Margot Robbie. I mean, that would be cool if they brought her in for like a cameo or something, but it will be interesting to see if it's a solo Black Canary movie, or if they will bring in, maybe they bring in Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she played the Huntress, or if they bring in Rosie Perez's character, Renee Montoya. It looked like those two had a connection. It looks like Montoya probably knew, was it her mother or her sister? I forgot which one it was, but I think it was her mother. So, they play that out a little bit in Birds of Prey, so maybe they'll bring her back for this. Who knows? But I'm really more interested in seeing how they go around, or not how they go around, but how they approach a Black Canary movie if it is a solo movie. That's the case. I'm not the biggest Black Canary historian out there, so I don't know too much about her history. But I know enough that I am familiar with the character, but not enough to be like, not enough to be like, if she has any solo stories out there, I don't know. So, but I'm excited for this. I like Smollett, and I like Green. I like what they did in Lovecraft Country, so I can't wait to see what they do with this. Okay, that was the only real big movie news item that came out after the podcast went up last week. Let's move on to this week's movie news items. And that, of course, we're always going to start off with trailer talk.
Coming soon to theaters.
We're going to start off with some quick trailer reactions, some quick thoughts on trailers that came out. One of them was, the first one is Welcome to Blumhouse, which, of course, we talked about a little bit last week. That's the series that Blumhouse does with Prime Video, where they release 4 movies. They released a overall trailer. I'm pretty sure they're going to release solo trailers for all their movies sometime soon, but they released an overall trailer for it. Kind of has like a Grindhouse feel, which I think is an interesting move, because it doesn't look like any of the movies have a Grindhouse feel. I think only one of them might have one, at least from from the scenes they show from that movie, and that's Bingo Hell. With one of the movies. The other one is Black as Night. That will open those will open together because they're releasing 2 movies at the same time. So those 2 will open on October 1st. The other 2, which are called Madres and The Manor, which will open on October 8th, so the week after. But it was an interesting choice to go the grindhouse feel, because it doesn't look like the movies have a grindhouse feel to them. But at least from what they've shown, who knows? Maybe once the solo trailers come out for those movies, we'll get a better idea. But that's up there if you want to go check that out. There was a teaser trailer for Spencer, which is the movie with Kristen Stewart playing Princess Diana. The movie will take place over 3 days over the Christmas holiday, where she makes the decision that she wants to divorce. And the movie will co-star Timothy Spall, Sean Harris, and Sally Hawkins. Sally Hawkins is in there. It looks like she's playing her friend. I will openly admit that I'm not the biggest Princess Diana historian out there either. I know a lot of people really love Princess Diana, that, we're obsessed with her story and everything like that. But I don't know. Maybe she's Sally Hawkins playing someone important. I don't know. But the teaser itself, very moody, kind of sets the atmosphere. It's directed by the same guy who did Jackie, which was the movie with Natalie Portman, where she played Jackie Kennedy. So it does have that similar looking style and feel. So if you're a fan of that movie or a fan of the look and style, you'll probably be a fan of the look and style of Spencer. The movie will open on November 5th. Looks like it's opening in theaters. It'll probably, come out on VOD sometime after that. But there is that. We'd only get like 1 line of dialogue from Kristen Stewart in the British accent, and I don't know. I'll just say that. I don't know. But yeah, there's that. The next quick reaction that I have for the trailers that came out this week is the Starling. This stars Melissa McCarthy and Crystal Dowd, who play a couple, Lily and Jack, who must deal with the tragedy of losing their child at birth. Jack looks like he ends up in a self-help facility or something along those lines, and Lily pretends that she's fine until someone who works at the facility that her husband's at sends her to Larry, played by Chris Klein, a former psychiatrist turned veterinarian who decides to help Lily with her mourning process, and a bird, a starling, which I guess the name of a bird, that is hanging out around Lily's farmhouse, that ends up injured, and he ends up taking it to her, and they end up connecting. It's a very, very lovely trailer. I don't use that term very often, because nothing ever really falls in line with that, but this is a really good trailer. I didn't know anything about the movie. I'm actually looking forward to it when it comes out, because the trailer got to me. It did. It got to me. I'm not afraid to admit that it got to me. This will open up on Netflix, by the way. This is a Netflix movie that will open on September 24th. It looks good. I'm not gonna lie, it looks good. It looks like a nice dramedy. Every now, we need a dramedy in our lives every now and then. Right? And Melissa McCarthy, I know people might be thrown off when they hear her name, but she's done great work in the drama field. Like Can You Ever Forgive Me? Even in the dramedy field, she had that movie Saint Vincent, which I know a lot of people like, the one with Bill Murray. So I'm looking forward to this. I didn't know anything about the movie, and now I want to watch it. The final quick reaction to the trailers that came out this week is The King's Man. The King's Man is, of course, the prequel to the Kingsman series. They released a Red Band trailer, which doesn't really show too much new footage. It does show why the movie's rated R, but other than that, there's not too much new footage. It's a nice thing to hold us over until the movie comes out on December 22nd in theaters. So if you're excited for that, like I am, this will be a nice little holdover until that. All right, so let's talk about the big trailer that came out this week. All right, it's the big elephant in the room. It finally came out. Everyone's been dying for it. Everyone's been clamoring for it. Everyone's been so annoying about it. It is the trailer to Spider-Man No Way Home. And from the looks of it, it does look like it will start off right after the last movie, which was Far From Home. Spoilers, I mean, if you watch the trailer, you're kind of already pretty much know how the movie ended. Peter Parker's identity is revealed, that he is Spider-Man, and it's revealed to the world. And now that the secret's out, Peter wants nothing more for it to go away, because it does look like it's affecting his life. It's affecting his life with MJ. It's affecting the life of Ned and Aunt May. So he goes to Doctor Strange, of course, who he knows. And a nice little tidbit in the trailer where he calls him by his first name. I like, in hopes that he can have a spell. And despite a warning from Wong, who is going somewhere, looks like he's going on vacation before he dips out, Strange does a spell anyway. And during that spell, when Strange says that everyone will forget, of course Peter doesn't want everyone to forget, and like MJ and Ned and Aunt May, and of course that somehow messes up the spell. We don't see how it messes it up, but it does, and thus we get the multiverse in No Way Home. We see Peter and Strange. It looks like they're in the mirror dimension, and it looks like they're in a mountain range with a train for some reason. I'm really interested in seeing how that works out. Happy Hogan is also, he appears, and it looks like he's being tracked down by the government or a SWAT team. Because again, it looks like, the people in Peter's life, anyone that is associated with him and knows that he's Spider-Man, it looks like they're being tracked down, because we do see Ned and Aunt May in an interrogation room later in the trailer as well. But of course, the big thing that everyone's, talking about is the villain teases. The lightning, that of course everyone says is Electro. We have sand, looks like a wall that's being built by Sandman. Of course, the Goblin Bomb with the Goblin Laugh. And of course, the big reveal at the end, which was not really a secret because he gave it away. Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus shows up at the very end, which is very, very cool. And that's what made everyone lose their collective shit on Twitter and everywhere else. But yeah, Strange, there's other little things in the trailer. Strange does punch, he does like the astral projection punch on Peter. It looks like he's holding a box of some sort. I don't know what that box is. I know there's probably people that have been dissecting that trailer. I just haven't looked up anything, but I don't know how that plays into the movie or plays into whatever they're doing. But he's holding his box, and it's just weird. And speaking of Doctor Strange, when Peter shows up at the building, it looks like there's like a bunch of snow everywhere. I don't know why. There's snow everywhere. It looks like Strange is wearing like a puffer jacket, and he's wearing like the cape behind it. So I don't know why. I don't know why that is. But it does look like Peter will also have multiple suits in the movie. Of course, he has the suit at the end of Far From Home. He has the Iron Spider suit, which now looks like he can manifest like nanotechnology around him. I think he was able to do that in the last movie in Endgame, but we only ever saw him do it with the mask. We never saw him do the whole suit, so now it looks like he'd do that. We do see him wearing a regular suit because it looks like he's going to court. So there is that. And of course, there's a shot of the trailer where he's in, police custody, and it looks like a lawyer slams files, and everyone's like, oh, that's Matt Murdock. It has to be Matt Murdock. We don't know if it's Matt Murdock, but everyone's saying it is. And then he has a black suit, which, and it looks like he's running through a building. It may be Feast, which if you're, familiar with like the video games and stuff like that, it might be from the comics as well, but I know it more from the video games. Feast is like this organization that helps out homeless people and people who are displaced and everything like that. So that's pretty cool. I think Feast might have been in the last movie. I can't remember, but it looks like he has a black suit on and he's running through the building. So that's pretty cool that he has that suit as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the movie. But yeah, everyone and their mother has an opinion on this trailer. Everyone's saying that Strange, of course, the big thing is like, why would Strange do this spell for Peter? Even if even if they did go through it all and save half the universe, why would he do that? And of course, some people were saying that maybe Strange isn't really Doctor Strange. Maybe it's someone else, someone who's been teased for a long time in WandaVision, in the Loki series, Mephisto. And Mephisto, for those who don't know, he's pretty much the devil in the Marvel world. And Mephisto also has a connection to Spider-Man because a lot of people are saying that this is very similar to the controversial storyline from the comics called One More Day. And for those who aren't familiar with One More Day in the Spider-Man comics divided a lot of fans. And a lot of fans do not like the One More Day storyline in Spider-Man. One More Day is basically I think it was around Civil War, right? The first Civil War. I know a lot of comic fans are going to yell at me if I get this wrong. So I think it was the first Civil War where Spider-Man he willingly reveals himself to the world. And this is going, of course, with, in the MCU, it's the Sokovia Accords. In the comics, it's the Superhero Registration Act or something like that. So he willingly reveals himself that he is Peter Parker. And of course, like in the movie, it starts to mess with people's lives and people in Peter's lives. And he regrets it. Peter regrets it at some point. He regrets it because I think something happens to Aunt May. Yeah, I think something happens to Aunt May, and he regrets it. And he wants everyone to forget that he showed his face, that he showed that he is Peter Parker. When he goes to Doctor Strange, Strange says he's not going to do it because it's dangerous. So there's this panel going around. There's a couple panels going around on Twitter. I'm sure you'll be able to find them if you look. You probably won't even have to look that hard. But there's panels and then people were lining it up to the scene in the trailer, and it kind of plays out the same way, which is really, really cool. Where Strange is kind of like, saying like, this is dangerous, you can't really do this, or why would you want to do this? It's not right. So it's really cool. But the gist of One More Day is that something happens to Aunt May. Peter wants to reverse it. No one's going to help except for Mephisto, because Mephisto comes along and says, I will, erase everyone's memory of you being Peter Parker in exchange for because he was married to MJ in the comics, and to Mary Jane, in exchange for your marriage. Your marriage will never happen. And he does it. And I don't know, I forget why he does it in the comics, but he does it. And everyone hated it because, of course, everyone loves Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson being together. So everyone's kind of comparing this to One More Day as well, which, obviously the similarities are very similar. And, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I will say this about the trailer. I like the trailer. Don't get me wrong. I like the teaser, because this is a teaser. Really, this is a teaser. I like the teaser. Even if we didn't get any Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield, which I know a lot of fans are upset about, but at the same time, if they showed up, you'd be like, they're showing too much. Why would they show that? So it's double-edged sword. Anyway, trailer itself. I liked it. It was a good teaser. It was a great teaser. But I can't help but feel that I would have been more excited for this teaser if I would have been on the same level as everyone else's excitement, if it wasn't for the constant demand that I saw on Twitter. Everyone was just begging for this teaser, and anytime Marvel released anything that wasn't Spider-Man related, they would get pissed and they would get mad. And I get it. I get it. Everyone was excited for this, when stuff started, coming out about, what No Way Home was about and everything like that. Everyone was excited. Everyone was kind of for it. I get it. And of course, there's a lot of Spider-Man fans out there. I'm a Spider-Man fan now. My phone case is a Spider-Man phone case. I love Spider-Man. He's a great character. But the constant demand for a trailer to be released when the movie is coming out in December. We don't need, come on. There's people out there that are like, they couldn't release a trailer. That's fine. I wouldn't have gone and seen it anyway. That's probably true. I don't know. I just felt like the constant, where's the trailer? Where's the trailer? It got to me a little bit, and I hate that it got to me. And then I watched this teaser, and I was like, it's a great teaser, but I probably would have been more excited if I didn't see a bunch of, people complaining, where's the trailer, every single day. But I like again, I like the teaser. I really did. I love the teaser. The teaser's great. It's a great teaser for something that is going to affect, everything. It's going to affect the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's bringing in the past Sony movies, obviously Alfred Molina, maybe William Dafoe. There's some people hoping that it is the William Dafoe Green Goblin and it's not the Dan DeHaan Green Goblin. We don't know what's going on with Lizard. Some people are saying it's probably not even Lizard. I think I'm starting to see that people are thinking that it's actually Lizard in that shot, that it's actually Venom, which I find very interesting that they think that. But I mean, anything can happen, I guess, really, when you think about it. But and we'll talk about Venom a little bit later. Just a little tease. But yeah, there you go. Spider-Man No Way Home will open on December 17th. We'll obviously be talking more about Spider-Man as we get closer to the release date, but there you go. All right, let's move on to this week's movie news items, because I felt like I was just running my mouth there for a second. Let's move on to Quickfire. All right, so the first quickfire movie news item for those who are still coming into the podcast and everything, quickfire is pretty much, movie news items that are really self-explanatory. I don't really have to go too much into them, but I still want to mention them regardless. So the first quickfire movie news item is the Army of the Dead prequel, Army of Thieves, has gotten its release date, and it's kind of a weird one considering it has nothing to do with its predecessor, at least in terms of genre. Army of Thieves will open on October 29th. So a reminder, Army of Thieves follows the safecracker from the first movie, Ludwig Dieter, the actor whose last name I always mispronounce, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, but he actually co-wrote and directed Army of Thieves, which is really cool. He is recruited by a group of criminals who are attempting to pull off a series of heists as the world is distracted by the ongoing zombie virus. There's a trailer out there, so we talked about it when it came out, if you want to go and find that. But yeah, it's coming out on October 29th. Again, very weird because it's not a zombie movie. It is actually a heist movie, so it just seems kind of weird. Anyway, whatever. Moving on, sticking with Netflix, they announced the release date for Adam McKay's newest film, Don't Look Up. That movie will be in theaters, in select theaters actually, on December 10th, before it goes and drops officially on Netflix on December 24th. Don't Look Up centers on two low-level astronomers, played by Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, who go on a tour to try to warn the world that a comet is on the way to destroy Earth. There you go. McKay has admitted that the film originally began, I can't speak now, as a criticism on how the world handles climate change, but then the pandemic hit and, of course, changed the film's focus on how we don't listen to each other when things go badly in the world. That's interesting. The other selling point is the movie's supporting cast. Obviously, being Adam McKay, some of these people may have cameos in the movie. Adam McKay, by the way, directed The Big Short and Vice. Those were his last two movies anyway. That he moved on from the comedies and started doing these, somewhat serious movies, but also have very comedic beats to them. So anyway, the supporting cast, you got Jonah Hill, Mark Rylas, Tyler Perry, Ron Perlman, Timothy Chalamet, Kate Blanchett, Meryl Streep, Chris Evans, Michael Chiklis, amongst, of course, many, many others as well. So there you go. There was a quick teaser for that. We didn't talk about it here on the podcast because it was just kind of a scene that we're familiar with now, of Leonardo DiCaprio kind of having a little mini panic attack. It looks like he's in the bathroom or something like that, and he's having a panic attack. So there hasn't been like a full teaser or trailer released for the movie yet. So obviously we'll talk about it once there is one. All right, let's move on to the next movie news item. Christian Bale is attached to star in an adaptation of David Kushner's Vanity Fair article, The Church of Living Dangerously, which is about a drug smuggling priest, or preacher, I should say, not priest. Bale will produce the movie as well, and will be written by Charles Rudolph, who did The Big Short, and co-wrote The Big Short and Bombshell. Bale will play John Lee Bishop, who survived a difficult childhood. His uncles forced him to fight other kids in the neighborhood for their amusement, and become a pastor of a Portland megachurch, which at its peak boasted a congregation large enough to fill this is how they put it, a former Kmart superstore that was converted into the Living Hope Church. With all his wealth, he eventually developed an addiction to alcohol and painkillers. Later, his own son developed a meth and heroin habit. Yeah, this story goes downhill really fast. And in an effort to not fail his son and better understand the power of the drugs held over him, Bishop began taking the same drugs as well. And the story still doesn't end there, because eventually he began smuggling drugs for the Mexican cartel, and was busted after 20 runs across the border. And after his conviction, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Whew. So yeah, that's what Christian Bale's playing. Bale is, I still believe, filming Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't know if they're still filming or not, but he will be playing Gore, the God Killer, which is very fun to say. He's the villain of the movie, so there is that. But yeah, that's who he's playing. I really needed to say that on a podcast, all of that, because that is something. Moving on to the next quickfire movie news item. Corey Hawkins has the musical bug. After starring in The Heights, he has found yet another musical in Warner Brothers' feature adaptation of The Color Purple. Of course, there was a Color Purple movie already, directed by Steven Spielberg, which everyone knows. Hawkins will be playing the role of Harpo, which I have not seen The Color Purple in quite some time, so I don't know who that character is. I don't know why I stretch that out. This is a musical adaptation that, of course, will be directed by Blitz Bazawal. I think that's how you pronounce the name. They directed Black is King, which is the Beyonce Lion King pseudo adaptation that was on Disney Plus, and will depict the lives of African American families and relationships in the early 20th century Georgia. The Color Purple does have a release date of December 21st, 2023. So there is that. Moving on. Quickfire, Jake Gyllenhaal is set to produce and star in an adaptation of Robert Kirkman's comic book Oblivion Song. The comic, created in 2018, takes place a decade after 300,000 civilians of Philadelphia disappeared in a cataclysmic event known as Oblivion. The government made every attempt to recover them, but after many years they gave up, and Nathan Cole, which Jake Gyllenhaal will play, hasn't, and continues to make trips each day to find those who remain lost and missing. Sounds pretty interesting. Moving on, Netflix has found a director for the sequel to The Old Guard. The sequel will keep the female director behind the camera and have hired Victoria Mahoney. I think it's Mahoney. She takes over for Gina Price Bythewood, who directed the first movie, which will bring back Charlize Theron, and assumably the other cast members as well. Mahoney is a veteran TV director, but more importantly, she worked as the second unit director for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, making her the first black woman to direct a Star Wars movie, even if it was the second unit. Which is not downplaying that important milestone, because that is very, very important. Mahoney has said that she was a fan of the first movie, so that's nice. But we don't know the story of the sequel just yet, although depending how seeing how the first one ended, I can only assume that they'll obviously continue off that for the sequel. That said, there is a plan to start filming early next year for a 2023 release on Netflix once again. I'm excited for this. I mentioned when it was first announced that I thought The Old Girl was okay. I wouldn't have mind seeing a sequel. But it's kind of cool that they're still continuing the trend of having a female director behind the camera. I think that's pretty damn cool. Moving on. Warner Brothers is readapting The Witches of Eastwick. They also have a director and writer attached in Ninja Thyberg, I think that's how you pronounce her name, which just made her feature directorial debut with the movie Pleasure. And yes, that is her name. Her name is Ninja. I did not mispronounce that. Her name is Ninja. The news also states that it's unclear if she will be adapting the screenplay that was based off George Miller's directed 1987 film with Cher, Michelle Pfeiffer, Susan Sarandon, and Jack Nicklaus, or if it will be based off the novel from 1984 by John Updike, who wrote the novel. So it's unclear if they're doing a faithful adaptation of the book or if they're doing an adaptation of the movie, which I guess the movie's different from the book, because I'll be honest, I have not seen the whole thing. To be honest, I'm going to just say that I have not seen the whole thing of Witches of Eastwick. I've seen parts of it. I've never seen the whole thing through. So I don't really have a solid opinion on what's going on. But yeah. So for anyone, by the way, unfamiliar with The Witches of Eastwick, it follows three single women, which I mentioned in the George Miller version. Which, by the way, George Miller, yes, the director of the Mad Max movies. Cher, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Susan Sarandon, they play three women in a picturesque village who have their wishes granted at a cost when a mysterious and flamboyant man arrives in their lives, and that is Jack Nicholson. And I remember him in that movie, and I remember what happens to all of those characters. So so there's that. Moving on to the last quick-fire movie news item. While promoting his new Netflix movie Sweet Girl, which came out last week, and it's already up on Netflix if you want to watch that. Jason Momoa said he and Dave Bautista are developing a buddy cop movie together, and the two have worked together. Obviously, in the past, they will be seen together in Dune, and they I don't know if you've seen the commercials, but Bautista is in the Apple Plus TV series C, which already has Momoa as a lead, so they clearly had a great time working together on both projects, and now they want to work together again. I just wanted to mention that because, seeing Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa together, I know will get a certain demographic in the theater. So, there you go. All right, let's move on. That was quick fire. Let's move on to the big movie news items of the week. All right, so the first movie news item we're going to talk about is the fourth Matrix movie. It finally has a title, and the title is The Matrix Resurrections. We don't know anything about the movie, really, anyway, certain plot stories. But we do know that returning star Keanu Reeves has revealed in a past interview that the movie was a, quote, love story. Well, of course, I have to wait and see exactly how what that means and how that plays out. Reeves won't be the only one returning, of course, from the past trilogy. Carrie-Anne Moss will also return as Trinity, as well as Jada Pinkett Smith's Niobe. Lambert Wilson's the Merovingian. He, of course, plays the French guy that betrays them in part 2 and 3. And Daniel Bernhardt's stuntman, sometimes actor, Daniel Bernhardt as Agent Johnson. He was the agent that took over for Hugo Weaving in the series. New cast members include Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Priyanka Chopra, Jonathan Goff, Jessica Henwick, Christina Ricci, and Neil Patrick Harris. Lana Wachowski will also return to co-write the movie, and she will be also directing the movie solo, not with her sister Lana Wachowski. So there you go. There was also a trailer description that came out. CinemaCon is going on right now. I don't usually cover CinemaCon on the podcast too much because a lot of it's like sizzle reels and like descriptions, so like secondhand descriptions of what's going on. But I usually don't cover it that much because a lot of it's just really for the exhibitors. And sometimes news just kind of gets lost in the shuffle with everything else. So I don't really cover CinemaCon. But for this, I do want to mention that there was a trailer description that came out for something they showed, that Warner Brothers showed. at CinemaCon, and it does look like Reeves' Thomas Anderson, because they call him Thomas Anderson in the movie, is seeing a therapist, which is played by Neil Patrick Harris, and he tells him that something's off, that he's having dreams that don't feel like dreams, and apparently in the trailer, he is taking blue pills as prescription drugs. And one day he, I guess, runs into Moss's character at a coffee shop, and they shake hands, and the descriptions reads like the trailer shows them like they don't know how they know each other, but they do. So it looks like they're back in the Matrix, maybe it's something like that. Thomas does eventually run into a mysterious man played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who was reminiscent, as the trailer puts it, trailer description puts it, of Morpheus, and he hands him a red pill, and Thomas starts to see everything going around him, and then there's action shots that sound really cool, and it looks like the trailer ended with a shot of Neo potentially controlling a missile through telekinesis that's about to hit him. It reads like a great teaser, so if you could get your hands on that and get your eyeballs on that, anyway, I should say, I would read it for yourself. But it sounds like a pretty good teaser trailer for something that we didn't know we wanted, but now that it's here, we kind of do want. So there you go. The Matrix Resurrections will open on both theaters and HBO Max on December 22nd. December's looking pretty stacked, guys. I don't know. We're gonna have to work out some sort of schedule so we can all watch these movies at the same time. All right. The next big movie news item is that Amazon Studios is teaming up with NASCAR, Will Smith's production company, Westbrook Studios, and the Chainsmokers, yes, the band. They apparently have a production company called Kick the Habit on a romantic comedy titled Clean Air that will be written by Allison Rose Greenberg, who wrote Younger. The film follows Lila, an ambitious sports agent who loses her superstar client before the start of the NASCAR season and decides to take a chance on a rebellious female dirt track racer, 17-year-old Piper Kite. With a career on the line, Lila's challenge getting Piper NASCAR ready is only one if she can also reform Piper's reclusive father, Matthew Kite, a former NASCAR champion who infamously walked away from the sport and hasn't been seen in 4 years. It's kind of interesting how this project came together, because you just kind of read everything and it's like, okay, that sounds pretty cool, interesting. Like, it just like layer upon layer of how this movie came together. So the Chainsmokers company, Kick the Habit Productions, was anxious to get their slate up because they're I guess it does look like they're a brand new production company, and they specifically wanted to do a romantic comedy, which I find very interesting. So after taking their time on working through scripts, they came across Clean Air. The group also has a strong relationship with NASCAR because apparently they performed at a number of races over the years and liked the idea of mixing the two worlds together. So they had that. Then, of course, it came across Westbrook Studios, and they loved it because it reportedly reminded them a lot of Hitch, which, of course, starred Will Smith. And again, he is, one of the main people behind Westbrook Studios. And he only plans on producing the movie. He's not going to star in it, at least not right now, but he was the only going to star in it. So, and then, of course, it came across Amazon, and they wanted to work together, and now we're here. So I just found that really interesting. It's just, like a domino effect. Everything one right after another. All right, so let's move on to the next movie news item, which I find this is pretty short, but I wanted to put it here because I just find it very cool. Anya-Taylor Joy is reuniting with her witch and upcoming The Northman director, Robert Eggers, for the remake of Nosferatu. There isn't a lot known about the remake nor who Joy will play, but those two together should probably be making a hit, especially with Anya-Taylor Joy being on fire right now with everything that she's been in, from The Queen's Gambit to the upcoming Last Night in Soho. So yeah, she's killing it right now. This isn't the first Nosferatu remake. Of course, there was the Werner Herzog produced remake titled Nosferatu the Vampire in 1979, as well as Nosferatu itself, because it's the original movie is a unauthorized remake of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which led into a legal issue if you want to get into the history behind that. But yeah. Like I mentioned, Eggers and Joy have finished filming The Northman, which will star Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, and William Dafoe, along with many others as well. So I like this. I haven't seen Nosferatu in quite a long time, and I know there is a woman in the movie, so that might be who Anya-Taylor Joy plays, unless he wants to mix it up and Anya-Taylor Joy is playing Nosferatu, which I think would be really, really interesting. But yeah, and Robert Eggers, of course, The Witch, The Lighthouse. He's a very divisive director. People are very divided on his work, but his style, I think, would be pretty cool for a Nosferatu movie if anyone was going to direct it. And you wanted, it to be very different from the past adaptations. I think having him direct it is a very good choice. All right, so this is the final movie news item, at least at the time of this recording. And I told you we'd be talking about Venom, because here it is. It wouldn't just becoming commonplace for Sony Pictures superhero movies. Vulture is reporting that Sony Pictures is reconsidering the release of Venom Let There Be Carnage from October 15th, which was their new release date after they moved it from September 24th to next year on January 21st. What is interesting about this is Morbius is set to come out on January 21st. So if they gave it to Venom, this would be like the third or fourth move that Morbius has had to do since the pandemic started. And I did mention this on my Twitter. Like, I'm not even looking forward to Morbius, but if they move it again, like, that's just, wow. That's, ooh. Like, Morbius can't be a movie that they're like, yeah, this is a winner. We know this is a winner. Like, we want people to see this in a movie theater. Like, do you? Now, the move could potentially be a real thing because CinemaCon is going on right now, like I mentioned earlier. And during the Sony presentation, there was a sizzle reel for their upcoming movie slate, and Venom Let There Be Carnage was apparently not on there, which I just want, now that I'm mentioning that, apparently they screened Ghostbusters Afterlife at that presentation, the whole movie, and it's apparently very, very good. It was a very big hit amongst everyone there, so that's good to hear. But yeah, it wasn't part of it. So that's interesting. And it's not just Sony. It's also Marvel, apparently, because there's some reports going out there that if Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings underperforms, quote unquote, at the box office, which I will also get into, Marvel would consider delaying Eternals, not putting it on Disney Plus. They just want to delay the movie. Obviously, with everything, with numbers again rising and everything like that, it kind of makes sense. But going back to the Venom news, Vulture's report says that the decision will not be made at least until the end of CinemaCon or sometime shortly afterwards. So CinemaCon, I think, ends this week, so we'll probably be getting some update on that. Obviously, if anything like that happens, I'll cut it in here if it happens before I drop the podcast, or I'll put it up on the Twitter page. But yeah, so like I mentioned, numbers are still rising for COVID. People, states are still being affected by everything. And, some states are going back to the indoor mask mandate. I live in Illinois, and that is one of the major things that happened last week. I think California also did it, which is, of course, a major market in Hollywood. It is where Hollywood is. And I know some other places have also been doing it as well. So this is a big deal. And, with numbers rising, there's also reports that, a lot of the movies coming out in the fall are sticking to the release date. One of them, of course, is No Time to Die. And that was also mentioned in the Vulture piece that No Time to Die is sticking to its release date that it has at the moment. I think it's the October release date as well. And they're sticking to that release date. They're not going to move it. They don't have no plans to move it at all. And No Time to Die is like this. No Time to Die itself is already taking a hit because they did a lot of promotion for the movie. They wasted a lot of their marketing budget already when the movie was going to come out last year. And of course, it didn't come out last year because of COVID. So it'll be interesting to kind of see the marketing for No Time to Die all over again and see how that, plays a factor into it. But for Venom, I mean, this will be the third move. I think, third move. Morbius, again, it would be like the fourth or fifth move, something along those lines. So I don't know, man. I get it, and I think I mentioned this when of all movies that I can mention this. I mentioned this when the adaptation of Clifford the Big Red Dog happened, that studios were probably going to start possibly looking at delaying movies again. It was going to be like last year where, the Delta variant is out there, numbers are rising, and there's no signs of it slowing down, and families mainly, are not going to want to risk getting COVID. They're not going to risk getting the Delta variant, especially if they're unvaccinated. They're not going to put their kids at risk either, who are too young to get the vaccination as well. So we could be looking again at another wave of movies getting delayed. And delayed and pushed back. And, if this, I don't, I'm always a pessimist. I'm slightly pessimistic in a lot of things. That's just who I am, because that's just how my life has turned out. But I hope that doesn't happen. I really hope it doesn't happen. But the way it's looking, it's not looking great. It's not looking that great. So I don't know how everything's gonna play out, but I hope, regardless of whether they think that Morbius and Venom: Let There Be Carnage are like the movies that are gonna save them, that are gonna make a crap ton of money at the box office, that they think are gonna make a crap ton of money at the box office, safety is always gonna be the thing that drives people. It's always gonna be the important thing. So I'm focused on this and what's going to happen and what's going to happen and how it's going to play out, because if Paramount, Paramount itself has, they admitted that they think Clifford the Big Red Dog is a hit for them. Sony hasn't come out and said that, we think that Morbius and we think that Venom: Let There Be Carnage are going to be movies that, that are going to, not save the studio, but are like, those are the movies that we believe in. Like, they believe in Ghostbusters. Like, that's why they delayed the movie, because didn't drop the movie online, because they felt like they had a winner on their hands. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Ghostbusters, because that comes out, I think, in November. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't want movies to get delayed again. And the whole underperforming at the box office thing, I talked about this on my Twitter page too. If I have to see one more report about that, I'm just gonna lose it, because we're in the middle of a pandemic. All movies are underperforming right now. You want to know why? Because people don't want to go to the movie theater. All movies are underperforming right now. Like, why are we even having this conversation? Why is there even multiple articles about movies underperforming? Of course they are. Why are we like this? Why are we like that? Whatever. That's it. I felt myself going to a place I did not want to go to. And I'm going to stop it right there. So that's all the movie news items I have, at least at the time of this recording. Obviously, if anything big drops, we'll talk about it next week on the podcast. And we'll, of course, talk about it on the Twitter page. If you want to go give that a follow, link down below in the description/show notes area. Let us move on and talk about the movies that are coming out in theaters this weekend and also streaming for your viewing pleasures.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, so we're going to start off with the streaming movies. First, we have two, at least that I was able to find right off the bat. The first one is He's All That, which is directed by Mark Waters, who directed Mean Girls. He also directed other movies, but let's face it, Mean Girls. This is a gender bend of the movie from the 90s, She's All That. So instead of, I think people are pretty much familiar with that. But there's a teenage girl who sets out to give as they put it in the synopsis, and I'm just going to read it how it is, a neebish classmate the ultimate high school makeover. So, of course, the original one starred Freddie Prinze Jr. and Paul Walker and Rachel Lee Cook and who was the other famous person in there? There was another famous person in there, and I forgot who it was. I can't remember. Oh, that's got to drive me crazy. Anyway, this gender bend of She's All That sees Addison Rae, who apparently is a social media influencer. I've seen her name being thrown around. I don't follow her, so I don't know. But the movie, she plays similarly someone like herself. She plays someone who's like the girlfriend of this like singer who also has a media presence. And I guess he's cheating on her. So to get over her breakup, she makes a deal with some of her friends about, turning someone at the school. Because apparently the boyfriend was like nobody before he started dating her, so they want to do it again. And of course their friends pick someone who she could possibly never make someone attractive and hot and popular at the school they're going to. And the guy, the quote-unquote neebish classmate, is Tanner Buchanan from Cobra Kai. He plays the son of the main character, not Daniel LaRusso, the other one. Why can't I remember his... I can't remember his name now, and it's going to drive me crazy. But he plays the son. You'll know him when you see him, especially if you watch Cobra Kai. Original stars from She's All That, Rachel Lee Cook and Matthew Litter. There we go. That was the other guy. I had it in my notes. Why didn't I look down? Anyway, whatever. shut up. Rachel Lee Cook and Matthew Lillard star. They are not playing the same characters they played from the first movie, although Lillard is playing the principal of the school, and Rachel Lee Cook is actually playing the mother of the main character. So, which it's interesting because the mother was not in the first movie; it was the father. I don't know. I saw the trailer. It's kind of cringy at times. It's not marketed toward me. I'll just put it like that. It's not marketed toward me. I'll just put it that way. I don't know. I probably won't watch this. I'll just watch These All That again, and I'll be fine. The whole idea itself, very, very problematic, but whatever. The next movie that's streaming this weekend, that's pretty much already out by the time this podcast goes out, obviously, is Vacation Friends. A couple, Little Ray Howley and Yvonne Orji, I think that's how you pronounce, or Orji, yeah, I think it's like, it's not spelled how you think it is. It's, whatever. Meets another couple, Meredith Hager and
John C.
while on vacation in Mexico, but their friendship takes an awkward turn when they get back home. The movie has been in the works for a long time, apparently. This has been in the works since 2005, and I will just tell you the names attached to this movie since its inception. Nicolas Cage, Will Smith, Chris Pratt, Anna Faris, and Ice Cube. All those people were attached at one point to this project since 2005. But now we have this cast, which seems like it's going to work. So the trailer, we talked about the trailer when it came out, and it looks like Howley and Orji's character meet Hager and Cena's character on vacation in Mexico, and then they go back, and it looks like they're going to get married, and Hager and Cena's character, they kind of crash the wedding, and it just kind of unravels from there. So that's kind of what the movie is, and it looks funny. It does. It looks funny, and Cena playing up, the comedy role instead of going like the action guy route. Very, very good choice for Cena, because he plays that role very, very well. So, all right. Moving on to movies that will be coming out in theaters. We have Together, which is a movie about a husband and wife played by James McAvoy and Shannon Horgan, who are forced to reevaluate themselves and their relationship through the reality of COVID-19 and the lockdown that happens. I saw the trailer for this. I think we actually talked about this on the podcast when the trailer came out. I think it was last month when the trailer came out. This looks really good. I'm not gonna lie. This looks really, really good. It has so the trailer kind of plays it like they're talking to the camera, like kind of breaking the fourth wall, but the characters know when they're breaking the fourth wall, and there's a few times in the trailer where they're interrupting the person talking to, the audience or the camera, quote unquote. So this looks really cool. I really like this. It's very funny. It looks charming. I like James McAvoy. So hopefully I get a chance to watch this because this looks very, very good. And of course, the big movie coming out this weekend in theaters is Candyman, directed by Nia DaCosta, who of course directed Little Woods, which is the movie that kind of broke her into the scene. Obviously, this movie is going to make her a household name, and of course, she is. If this doesn't make her a household name, her next movie will make her a household name because she's directing the Captain Marvel sequel, The Marvels. This, of course, is also co-written and produced by Jordan Peele. It is a spiritual sequel to, of course, the first Candyman movie, and returns to the now gentrified Cabrini Green Towers, where an artist, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, his name is Anthony in the movie, and his partner move into the loft, and Anthony soon learns the legend of the Candyman, and soon uses the macabre details in his work. He unknowingly opens the door to complex past that unravels his own sanity and unleashes a terrifying wave of violence. Tiana Paris co-stars in the movie, as does Coleman Domingo and Vanessa Williams, who, no, not that one. There is another actress named Vanessa Williams. She was actually in the first movie, and she's coming back in this one, which is really cool. So I've been looking forward to this. A lot of people have been looking forward to this, and the reviews are out, and they're very mixed, loudly mixed. And I talked about this last night on my Twitter page as well, that I'm the kind of guy that doesn't, read reviews before he goes watch a movie. The buzz around the movie, I will leave that all at the door. I'm going to soak in the movie for what it is. I pride myself on that, and that's just what it is. Obviously, it's a little different now with the pandemic because I'm not going to movie theaters as often as I did back when, there was no COVID around. So all the information coming in now, from reviews and buzz online, it sticks with me because it may be a while before I actually go watch Candyman, hopefully in a theater. But yeah, this is the reviews are very mixed, and they're very loudly mixed. Everyone is saying that the Costa's direction is good, that Abdul Mateen II is very good, that the violence and gore, again, I know that sounds very weird, but that's also very good, but its messaging can be a little muddy, and the story itself can be a little disjointed. And, that's just a few people saying their opinions, but again, we're living in a different time now where stuff like that, if I had seen that online, I was like, all right, whatever, I'll just keep scrolling, and then I'll go watch the movie and just enjoy it and see, what it is for myself. But now it's like, no, I have to sit there and look at it and scroll through it, because I'm not going opening weekend when there's a bunch of people that want to go, watch the movie opening weekend as well. So it's a little rough to hear that about this, because again, a lot of people have been looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this, but again, it's mixed reviews. A lot of people are saying there's a lot of good in it, but there's some things that they're not saying it's a bad movie. I haven't seen anyone saying that it's a bad movie. I've just been seeing people saying that it's just on the touch. I actually read this somewhere. It's on the touch of greatness, and it just kind of meddles with some aspects of the story and some other stuff, and it's messaging apparently as well. So you got Jordan Peele in there. There's a social commentary on that. So I don't know. So there is that, if you want to take that into account for yourself. But yeah, there you go. So those are your movies coming out this weekend. Candyman and Together are coming out in theaters, and then streaming we have Vacation Friends, which will stream on Hulu. I don't think I mentioned that. That's on Hulu, and He's All That is on Netflix. So there you go, guys. That's the podcast this week. I don't have anything else to tell you guys. So that's everything that came out this week. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. No matter what you're listening to, or where you're listening to, I should say, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, or Spotify, that's all the platforms we're on, right? So if you're listening to on one platform, you're like, I want to listen to the other platform. There you go. I gave you 4 platforms. You listen to the podcast. If there's any other platform that you think the podcast should be on, please let me know. There's a bunch of links down there for the Twitter, for the Instagram. I'm using the Twitter a lot more now. Sometimes it's just me getting something out there, but it's there. I'm using it a lot more. I'm trying to use it a lot more, so bear with me on that. The Instagram still needs some work, and I apologize for that, but I'll work on that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. Very much appreciate it. Hopefully you guys are staying safe. Please continue to wear your mask. Please continue to social distance, wash your hands, and everything else that you need to do. Be good people. Obviously, don't be a dick, because I will know. Sorry, that was a little weird. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. Very much appreciate it. I hope to see you guys next week for another podcast episode. And until then, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!